What's up everyone, welcome back to Just Finish Coding. This is part 4 of our Night Tour series on Scratch 3, so let's get coding.
Just finished coding.
Now quick interjection here, if you've not watched parts 1 to 3, please watch them before you come here because we're picking up from where we left off and you'll be very lost. I'll leave a card for you right here. Please watch the videos and then come right back. If you're still here, I'm going to assume that you've watched parts 1 to 3, in which case let's get on with the rest of our problem. So within finished squares, you obviously have nothing written down, and also the costumes, for some reason, although I saved them as to be like top left aligned, for some reason they automatically got centered. So what you need to do right now is something very similar to what you did with the knight, and that is to indent the square right at the bottom. So you want to make sure that this top corresponds with the center, and the best way to do that is to make use of that blue line and do it to the best of your abilities. I'm just going to leave it at that. So within your code, your function where we go to the particular square is going to be very similar to the knight function. So what I'm going to do is to open up my backpack, throw in this entire block of code right into my backpack. Now I'm going to head over to the finished square and just put in the entire code right there. And that would be pretty much it, okay? And you obviously do not want this change score by 1 to be here. That's just going to be in our knight. But our go-to position, that's going to be pretty much the exact same thing. Now the size of this is pretty humongous, so we obviously need to change it, and we will be setting the size manually, so you don't really have to change it right here. So what I'm going to do right now is when the green flag is clicked, I'm first going to hide the sprite, and then I am going to set the size, and you can find the size within looks itself, and that would be set size to percentage. Don't use this change size by, just say set size to, and as far as the percentage is concerned, we need first a minus, or I believe it's a plus, okay? And then within the first plus, we're going to have a multiplied by or a divided by, that's your choice. Just make sure you have the reciprocal correct. And what we need to do right here is to say 100 divided by 8 plus 0.27, okay? And this is the best I could get with how accurate our finished square corresponds to a square in the chessboard. It still has a bit of an inaccuracy, but that's pretty much bearable, okay? You would probably not notice it if I didn't tell you. Alright, so once you have that, now we need the main function of the square, which is when we receive that move knight function, we basically need to move to wherever like that knight had, wherever that knight is basically. So what I'm going to do is to say when I receive move knight, in this case, I'm going to wait until that score added is equal to yes. Now, if the score is not added, now keep in mind that the knight the knight might not have moved to that square just as yet, and that would not be a good thing to imprint the square before that. So what I'm going to do is to wait until, and this block is probably one of the most underutilized blocks in Scratch, but anyway, wait until score added equal to yes. Now, if the score has already been added, then we can, well, go ahead and imprint the knight. And for imprinting the knight, all we're going to do is to create a clone of myself and then stamp it on the stage. So what I'm going to do is to have an if condition, not just create a clone. And the if condition is going to be checking if the score is equal to 0 or not. So if the score is not equal to 0, then we'll basically create a clone. But if the score is 0, then the square isn't occupied just as yet, so we won't create a clone of ourselves. So head over to control, grab a create clone of myself, and now the next block of code, which is when I start as a clone. So after you have this block, you need to grab I'm actually not going to do any special effects there. You could play around with this ghost effect in case you want to have a slightly transparent look, but I'm just going with when I start as a clone, no effect. So after this, we need to go to that particular coordinate, and that's why we have this go to x comma y. So I'm going to say go to x core comma y core, and after we go there, keep in mind that our sprite is hidden. So what we'll have to do is to show ourselves, and then after I show it, I'm going to just stamp, and since we already have a pen extension, that's pretty simple. And after we stamp, I'm just going to delete this clone, okay? And you'll probably not notice the difference as leaving it instead. But the reason I'm deleting this clone, not stop all, why would I do that? I'm going to delete this clone. So the reason I'm deleting this clone with a stamp rather than just showing it all the time is because if we're showing it all the time, we are going to have a whole lot of clones on the screen. And Scratch has a limit, clone limit of 300 clones. But I know what's the reason, even though I just had like 10, 20 clones when I was coding this for the first time, Scratch just stopped creating clones after a certain point. And that got really pissing off. And the only way to get around that system, as I figured, was to use this instead. Not the best way to go about things, but it does bypass Scratch limitations. So make sure you have that in place. And now I'm going to code in a bit of our whole lines, line sprite, because as you can see, it's pretty much a mess right now. So I'm not going to do any centering or anything like that for this sprite. I'm just going to experiment with a few x and y coordinates. So I'm going to say go to x0 minus 2. Does this work out? Yeah, perfect. Now you can see it corresponds almost perfectly with the board. I think the little bit of a mishap on the right it's fine. So I'm just going to leave it to this coordinate. So now when the green flag is clicked, I'm going to go here and I'm going to go right to the front layer. So go to front layer. And after I'm done with that, what I'm going to do is hide variable score, because we want the score variable to be hidden unless as long as the score is 0. So I'm going to hide variable score as long as the score is -1, not 0. Okay, so hide variable score, and now I'm going to wait until score is equal to 0 or score is greater than -1. So score is greater than -1. Well, in this case, we can just show score because now the score can be shown to the user. So I'm going to say show variable, follow that with a score. Perfect. And that is pretty much all we'll have inside our line sprite. Now, this is just meant to ensure that our chessboard has a nice look on it. And if you want, you could grab like a forever loop and put in go to front layer in that, so that all our finished squares go right to the back. But since we're just imprinting the squares anyway, they are going to go to the back by default. They're just going to be in front of the board because that was imprinted before. So we really don't have to do that. That'll be on by default. So I'm going to leave it. And I'm actually going to wind up the video right here. There's only a little bit left for finishing our Naito, which is inside this numbers imprint sprite. But I will be having that in the next video. If you've enjoyed this video, please make sure you leave a like. And also don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.